To keep your pantry useful for longer, it's key to pick items that last. Today we're going to talk about different choices that you can make for a longer term food storage. Hello everybody and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and we are all about pantry preparedness. It is the best insurance that money can buy. And today we're going to talk about different choices that you have on food to be able to store it for longer term. Not everything will be applicable to everybody. If you have different health issues, if you have different preferences, that's fine. I get it. You do you. But this is to let you know that there are choices for storage. Easy. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. White rice over brown rice. Yes, brown rice is supposed to be more nutrient, this, that. Okay, but for long-term storage, brown rice doesn't work. It has a natural oil in it that makes it go rancid. So it will not last for 30 years. White rice, however, will last 30 years. So if you're going to stock up for long-term storage, stock up white rice, not brown rice. White flour over whole wheat flour. Now, if you're talking about commercially ground flour, your white flour will last longer than your whole wheat flour. If you are grinding your own, obviously buying the wheat and milling your own is the best bet for longevity. If you're going to buy commercially ground, get the white over the wheat because the wheat has a natural oil in it. Now, I have been telling you for years that this lasts in just regular containers in a nice moderate temperature for about a year before it starts to go rancid. Recently, we have been hearing more and more people saying that I've had it last 2 years. You can play your odds. Am I going to stock up 500 pounds of commercially ground flour? Not unless I plan on using it inside of a year. But for long term, I use wheat and I mill it myself with my wheat mill. Now, that information on the mill that I prefer is down below, and you get $20 off if you use that link. Super short term, commercially ground wheat. Shorter term, commercially ground white. Long term, wheat. Dried beans over canned beans. Dried beans will last you a very long time. Put them in a cool, dark, dry place, airtight container. Nothing can get to them. I put them in Mylar bags and you're good to go. You can stack them to the rafters and you've got a good, reliable source of protein and fiber. However, they're not always really convenient if you're in a hurry or trying to make a meal fast. So if you are a canner, that is why we can beans, so that we can take them from the very inexpensive dry state to the canned and easily usable state. Now, if you're not a canner, by all means, you can buy them canned, and they will last you about a year or so. Check the different dates, different beans, different things. Pay attention to what you're doing. Rotate through your stock. So whatever fits your lifestyle is a great thing. But for the longest term storage, dried beans are your best bet. Sugar, yes. Who doesn't like sugar, right? But if you're looking at long-term storage, white sugar is perfect. It's literally a forever food. Yes, it is. So you can stock it up, and as long as you contain it properly, don't use oxygen absorbers, don't vacuum seal it, just put it in a good airtight container and it will literally outlive you and be perfectly usable. Now, the minute it is brown sugar, it has a little bit more of a shelf life to it, okay? It can solidify much faster. It becomes very hard. There are ways to prevent it from doing so, but it's also just as easy to take that whole sugar, that regular white sugar, cane sugar, and turn it into brown sugar using molasses or sorghum, or turning it into powdered sugar by dragging it through the blender. There's ways to make it work so that you don't have to have all of those products and worry about them. You just have the one. And regular sugar is a forever food. Honey. Yep. Okay, so honey is, again, a forever food. But if you're looking at honey versus syrups, so honey literally will last forever. It may crystallize. There are ways to make it uncrystallized. It's still perfectly good crystallized. But honey is a great thing to have. Syrups tend to have a much shorter shelf life. So if you're used to buying different flavored syrups for this or for that, try replacing it with honey. Honey will last you forever and ever. Now, fresh maple syrup that actually somebody who took that out of the tree, spent a very long time boiling it down, then you are a very lucky human being. I am a very lucky human being, as I know a few people who do that. But that stuff, once you boil it down and you seal it properly, you can put it on your shelf and it is good for a very, very, very long time. But once you crack open that seal, you've got a shorter time and it needs to stay in a fridge. Honey is another great thing. It's what we originally used, you guys, okay? They may not have had pancakes way, way, way back in the day, but if they had something similar, they drizzled honey over it. Not a mountain of maple syrup filled with all kinds of chemicals that isn't really maple syrup. Eventually, they learned how to tap trees and they got maple syrup. And I'm so grateful that they did. Vegetables. This one gets a little tricky because there's so many ins and outs for vegetables, but look at the different vegetables that you enjoy. Now, canned vegetables will definitely outlast fresh. I'm a fresh vegetable eater. I like fresh vegetables. However, I also like freeze-dried vegetables and some dehydrated vegetables. So anything beyond the point of fresh, you can pretty much find a way to make it more shelf-stable for a very long time. Canned vegetables are good for a year plus. Freeze-dried, 30 years. Dehydrated, you got a few years use out of that, right? If you store them all properly. Storage is a big aspect here. So fresh vegetables are great to have. Definitely, I'm a seasonal eater. I get it. But if I'm having a hankering for something that I typically eat seasonally, then I'll get it in a can and store it in a can. If I can't live without mushrooms, as we know that I can't, then I make sure that I've got alternate ways to store them for longer term, like my freeze-dried and like my canned. I'll grab them fresh when I am able to, but otherwise I'm relying on canned or freeze-dried. Pasta. I think this is kind of a no-brainer anymore because very few people actually make their own pasta anymore. We will be looking into that as we move along this year. But if you like good pasta, then fresh is always fantastic. But to be able to stock up on pasta, you can either stock up on all of the ingredients, like the wheat and, the eggs and all that kind of stuff, or you can stock up on pre-made pasta. That stores for a very long time. You can get quite a few years out of that. So would I stock up for 30 years? Probably not. And would I do egg noodles? No. But the rest of the pastas are pretty good. You just have to vacuum seal them, put them in Mylar or in a jar, and put them up on a shelf, and they are good to go for a few years. So dried pasta over fresh is a good one. But fresh pasta is so good. Milk. So fresh milk, everybody knows fresh milk, right? The prices are crazy. Fill in for me, because I'm not a big milk drinker. So fill in for me that Walmart is actually half the price of a gallon of milk that you can get in town locally. But we all know about Walmart. So powdered milk is another option. Powdered milk is shelf stable infinitely if you vacuum seal it and store it in a cool, dark, dry place. That way you've always got milk to do whatever you need to do. There are ways to make it taste better. There are ways to fluff it up. Add chocolate to it, chocolate makes everything better. But milk is one of those things that if you can't go to the store, if something happens, like, I don't know, a pandemic, okay? Or if there's health issues, or if there's financial issues, you don't have to worry about going and paying $2.50 to $5 a gallon for a gallon of milk when you've got the powder sitting in your pantry and you can make milk at your leisure. Something that I didn't know but have recently discovered thanks to Azure, I found out that block cheese, it lasts longer than shredded cheese. Who knew, right? Because for whatever reason, even though they coat it with whatever they coat it with to keep it from clumping, it's a non-clumping thing, block cheese lasts longer. It does not go bad as quickly. It does not get moldy as quickly. So block cheese is fantastic. Now, the way that I guarantee that it does not go bad faster, because I have had it do it, is when I get a big block of cheese, like from Azure, their white cheddar is amazing. I will divide that up into smaller chunks and I will vacuum seal it. That makes it airtight and it lasts quite a few months in your refrigerator. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Near and dear to my heart, as always, is coffee. Okay, don't mess with my coffee. So the best way to do it is to get green coffee beans. and store the green coffee beans. You can store those indefinitely. They're good. Life is fantastic. You have to learn to roast them, and then you grind them and you make coffee. Now, another way is ground coffee. Ground coffee has a shelf life. Now, is it as much? I guess it depends on how picky you are about the taste of your coffee. Don't get me wrong. I love a Big B coffee, which is kind of like a Starbucks, only not as expensive. I love, a good coffee house coffee. It has that amazing taste. However, for every day, I don't care. It's coffee. I have drank Maxwell House coffee 4 years past its quote expiration best by date. Okay. It's perfectly fine. Is it as oomph as, say, a Starbucks coffee? No. It doesn't have that robust, fresh flavor. However, it's still completely palatable and really, really good. So those are the difference there. And then you bump up and you go, I want long term. I don't want to mess with this stuff, Lise. How do I ensure that I have coffee? Freeze-dried coffee. Freeze-dried coffee is a forever thing. It will last forever as long as you keep it sealed properly, as long as if you open that seal, you put it someplace where it's not going to be exposed to humidity, okay? So freeze-dried coffee is your forever coffee. Then there's coffee beans, and then there's the stuff you get at the store. Obviously, every step you take from or farther away from the green coffee beans, so you've got green coffee beans, you've got roasted coffee beans, those are not going to last as long because they've been roasted. There's a natural oil in coffee. It's part of what makes it so good. And then you've got ground coffee. That's not going to last as long as the roasted coffee, and definitely not as long as the green coffee. But then you've got freeze-dried coffee, which goes neener, okay? And that's going to last you literally forever. This one, bouillon cubes over broth. Now, I'm talking broth, not bone broth, more like a stock, I guess. But if you're looking for that chicken flavor to add to your rice or your soups or whatever, bouillon cubes are going to take up a lot less space, or just powdered bouillon. Thrive makes a vegetarian chicken or beef bouillon that's a powder, and that takes up a lot less space than even bouillon cubes. And then there's bouillon cubes. They take up much less space than, say, jars of stock or boxes of stock. So if you want to take up less space, still get that amazing flavor, the less space you use, the more space you have to add more to your stock, right? So look at the alternatives for being able to stock up the things that you like a little bit longer, and this is one of those cases. Salt over herbs. Now, if you are on a salt restrictive diet, I get it. And I just don't technically eat a lot of salt because it seems to be in a lot of the stuff that I do eat, so I don't worry about it a whole lot. However, if you don't have any restrictions to salt, salt is more often than not all that you need to emphasize flavor. In addition to the fact that we legitimately need it, our bodies need salt in order to function. They just don't need an excess amount of salt. So if you want to make your herbs go a little bit longer, or if you want to just not have the herbs to deal with, then salt is normally more than enough. If you add salt to your herbs, then you get not only that boost in flavor, but the flavor from the herbs too. Salt is a forever food. Again, it will outlive all of us, but it is absolutely necessary for our bodies to function. Put it in an airtight container, say like mason jars or Mylar bags, no oxygen absorbers, no vacuum sealing, you will have a brick. But other than that, it's a forever food, and it's really fantastic to have around because it will make something that tastes bland taste a lot better. I didn't know this one, but then when I thought about it, I went, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So if you like tuna, we like tuna. If you like tuna, but you typically have gotten used to buying it in water, buying it in oil makes it last longer. It has a longer shelf life if you buy it in oil because the oil acts as a barrier to any bacteria that prevents it from getting to the tuna. So tuna in oil is better. And if things get really rough, you can turn it into a candle. Hard grains over soft grains are one of those things where you're going to hear differing opinions, and you're going to hear it here because what I'm finding is that a lot of places say that hard grains like wheat last longer than soft grains like rolled oats. So I have found that oatmeal lasts a very long time if it is stored properly. And we all know, I hope, that wheat berries will literally last forever. So play that as it is. But if you're used to eating oatmeal, it's going to take some time to get used to eating cooked wheat. Um, it's a transition you can definitely make. So your oatmeal and your hard wheat berries are things that you can stock up a lot on. The more processed they are, the less shelf life they have. That's just a standard unless it's freeze-dried. So remember, if you're going to go for oatmeal, don't go for the packets of flavored stuff. That doesn't have a shelf life. Go for plain old oats and figure out how to flavor it on your own. This is where things like Thrive Life come in handy because you can change it up. You have oatmeal and you can add apples or raspberries or blueberries or whatever the case may be to your oatmeal. You can grind it up as a powder and sprinkle it on top. You can fold it in whole. You can refresh it and fold it in whole. However, you be as unique as you want to be with it. But that gives you the flexibility to mix it around and the shelf life in order to do it. Because, like I said, those packages, they just won't last. But if you combine some of your long-term storage solutions, then you can make those short-term things yourself and have a lot more variety, and they're a lot healthier with ingredients that you can pronounce. Ghee is a clarified butter, okay? It has a longer shelf life than regular butter due to the removal of milk solids. Now, I am still going to adamantly say it is absolutely unsafe to home can butter. I don't care what you call it. There is no proven method for it. There's no approved method for it. I do not recommend it or condone it. However, if you can purchase ghee, because you can purchase ghee, then you can put that on your shelf and relax a little bit knowing that it has been done so safely at the commercial level so that you have a shelf-stable butter product available to you. I will always say freeze-dried fruits and vegetables and all the things, okay? Because, like I said, it just gives you the availability. It is super long-lasting. Most of these are lasting 25 years, and that's all they're going to commit to, okay? I know I've had some stuff open longer than they, say that it's good for, and it's still perfectly good. So you have to play it by ear for where you live and the conditions in your home and in your kitchen. But freeze-dried food in the can unopened is typically 20, 25 years. That's good stuff right there. That is my retirement plan right there, to make sure that me and mine have real food to eat. Definitely check out freeze-dried food. I have a link down below. There's going to be an epic sale later this month. You want to keep track of me for that one. Spice is the key to a good quality life. No. Anyway, but it makes food taste a lot better. So when you buy your spices like cloves, you want to get whole cloves, not ground clove, and then have a way to turn your whole clove into ground clove as needed. Whole spices will last much longer. Now, your ground spices will last if you put them in Mylar, if you vacuum seal them, if you keep them in a cool, dark space. But if they're in your spice cabinet in your kitchen, they're probably good for about a year. And then if you've ever had old oregano, you know what I'm talking about. There is such a taste, and it's not good. If you get a chance to keep it whole, like say your cloves, then get it whole, grind it yourself as you need it. It's like pepper, okay? There is such a different flavor, an amazing flavor to fresh ground pepper as opposed to already pre-ground pepper. You just have to put a little elbow into it to turn that crank a couple times, and you've got fresh ground pepper, and you can smell the difference. You can taste the difference. It is fantastic, and it lasts a lot longer on your shelves. White vinegar over apple cider vinegar. Now, they both have their purposes, okay? But white vinegar, they say, has a longer shelf life than apple cider vinegar. I keep both. I probably have over 20 gallons of white vinegar on my shelves. I probably have about 5 of apple cider vinegar. I use them for different purposes. The more pure your apple cider vinegar, where it has the mother in it, the better. But that may shorten its shelf life just a tiny bit. But vinegar is one of those things that you can keep around forever. And white vinegar will last forever. Okay, so you want to make sure that what you're getting is good. 5% if you're canning. If you're getting flavored vinegars, you may want to do a little research to find, there are so many flavored vinegars, but if you are buying flavored vinegars, do a little research to see how long they last on the shelf, or learn to make your own. Even better. This has been a list of alternatives for what you normally buy that will be long-term shelf-stable compatible. That is the key. That's what we're looking for. If you don't eat rice, don't worry if it's white or brown. If you absolutely will never eat white rice, don't worry about it. Just don't stock up on it, okay? There are different ways for you to work what you get into this to make it work for you and your family, your needs, your health needs, your family's taste preferences, whatever the case may be. If you don't use it today, don't buy it for tomorrow. That's the key. If you want to know more about different ways to build up your preparedness pantry, check out this playlist right here. And until next time, everybody, be safe.